our life. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Kathleen. It's nice to see you, and I'm not seeing other faces, but I can see names. So I hope you're seeing me all right. I I believe that if you have specific questions during the course of my talk, you can enter them into the chat room. Is that right?
Yes,
And
we usually answer the questions at the end of your
right.
presentation so we can get through it, but you can send your questions in.
Through the
And
chat and right, and then I'll answer them afterwards. So yes, this is, I used to call this talk Decluttering with Less Tears, but I changed the title to Resizing Your Life for Retirement, or How to Declutter with Less Tears. You know, and I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I might make you cry during this talk. Hopefully I won't, but I'm going to, my goal here, my intention is to give you, you know, the real truth about, you know, resizing your life for retirement, getting your home downsized. And so you really know what to expect. So you know, I'm going to apologize in advance. You know, if you want to get a Kleenex box, now would be the
no,
time. But I'd rather you know now while you're in the planning stages. Um,
okay.
okay,
Well,
so let's
I promise not to cry,
okay, so let's get
at
going.
least on
Okay,
this webinar.
all right. Just want to advance my slide. Here we go. So yeah, I'm going to skip past this part. You know, this is again what we do. Kathleen's introduction pretty much said it all. The one thing that I would emphasize that is really something that sets us apart is that we really try to guide and advise you through the process of making those tough decisions about whether it's about what to keep or what to let go of, or what to find new homes for, or what mover to select, or you know, what's the best way to go to even plan for getting your home ready for Kathleen to sell it for you. So I like to I like to try to start
That's
with a little bit of humor here. For those of you who can't see it, it's a picture of two people, a king and a queen, who are sitting by their advisor and saying, at our age, we'd like to move to a place with no stairs and no moat. And I think that's probably pretty appropriate for those of you who've been, you know, who are really ready to resize your lives and have a new lifestyle. Here's what I see are the benefits. Whoops. Do that again. Of downsizing. Why downsize? Well, first of all, you get to decide what is kept and what goes. And goes, by the way, does not mean goes in the trash. It means, it could mean any number of things. For all intents and purposes, it means not staying with you.
Well, where's mine?
I'm hearing some, is that background?
1 second.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. It's, even if you're not downsizing to move, although I'll say to you that typically it's moving that motivates people, because it is a big undertaking and the cost of it can generally get offset by the sale of your home. But one of the benefits of it either way is that it's really going to be safer for you to live and maintain your home once you have really curated what you have and made sure that what's there are the things that you love, use, and love and use the most, and you know, eliminates things like trip hazards and other things that can compromise your safety. The other great thing about it is you're going to be totally ready to move on move day. Once everything is decluttered, it's going to be such a breeze by comparison, that movers will just be able to come in, get you packed up, come back the next day, get you loaded, and they're on their way. Of course, the less stuff you have, the lower the cost of the move, especially if you're moving across country or interstate moving, because that's generally charged by weight. I'm in the midst of planning a large move right now, And, even for moving 2 bedrooms, a 2 bedroom home, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, say, of average stuff, if you're moving that across country, you can be looking at upwards of $20,000. So you want to make sure that you're only moving what you really want, love, and use.
Right.
Kathleen can talk about this for sure. Decluttering, first impressions are everything. You can get your home sold more quickly once it's viewable and once it's going to show well. It won't show well if it's full of clutter. And in fact, I've had many clients come to me who say my realtor won't even put my house on the market until I get all this stuff decluttered. So help, what am I going to do? And then of course, just having less stuff in your life to deal with, having the clarity and the peace and not having to worry about you or your kids and how they're going to deal with it is enormous in improving the quality of your life and reducing the amount of stress that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. And let's face it, it's just, there's so much on our plates right now that just having a place of respite to come back to that is clear and clean and, you're surrounded just by what you love can do enormous things for just our general well-being.
I think, Liz, what happens is that everyone gets accustomed to their stuff.
Yes, of course. We all do.
And you kind of just look past it because
we call that being clutter blind.
You call it what?
We call that being clutter blind.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And once I found out about the clutter, it's hard to ignore. Once you've gone through the process of decluttering, this is not just decluttering for sellers, but it's decluttering for anybody.
That's
Even if
true.
you're going to buy a house, I mean, there's sellers who sell a house, but if you're going to buy a house and move, or just the way you live, it changes how you feel. It changes how you walk, how you perceive your life when you walk into a house that's not just,
Absolutely.
when we put homes on the market, we want homes that have nothing on the counter. I mean, these homes are not the way people live, right? You walk into a house that's staged and there's nothing on the counter. Who lives like that? But it sure feels good and everybody loves it.
And the reason you do that is you want your prospective buyers to imagine themselves in the space. If it's surrounded and cluttered full of somebody else's stuff, they feel like they're invading somebody else's home versus coming in and saying, hey, this could be my home. I can envision myself in here. So it is going to up the value of your home the more streamlined you can be and the more decluttered. So I'm going to keep going because I want to get through my slides. This is okay. Here's where we get into the reality check. So this is an actual floor plan from a retirement community in Oakland. This was given to me a couple of years back by a colleague who works for St. Paul's retirement community in Oakland. This is a standard 1-bedroom floor plan, and I want you all to look at the square footage of this space. And if that isn't like a complete eye opener, considering you probably all live in homes that are at least, 1,000 square feet, it can be jarring when you realize you have to downsize this much. Now, is this going to be the case with all places? No, absolutely not. This is a floor plan for a client I'm working with right now, and this is the property that they're moving into on the East Coast. However, they currently live in a 3,500 plus square foot home, and that square footage does not include their garage. It didn't include all the things in their basement. And so they've had to downsize to be able to get to a point where they can fit what they want to take with them in this space. And that is a really hard pill to swallow. But when you look at this floor plan, it actually sort of gives you some ideas. You know, you can sort of see what's gonna fit. And this is not personal, it's a real estate issue. You have so much stuff and you have so much a space that it has to fit in. So if you're thinking about bringing in 3 or 4 giant pieces of furniture into the dining room, in addition to a dining room table and chairs, that's gonna be a real challenge. And so you can kind of see what fits in a you know, a fairly spacious by comparison home in a retirement community, in this case back east. So okay, here's where we get into the nitty gritty of things. So things don't really have meaning for us unless they're ours. And you all are probably looking at this room and going, oh my God. First of all, you're probably all saying, oh, I know what that looks like. I have been there. Yep, I can relate to that. Or yep, I've seen that. Or, you know, to you though, it might look like some junk, but for someone who lives there, there may be a lot of memories in this space. And being able to sort through it and figure out what's what is an enormous challenge for any homeowner. It is, however, what we do, and we have a process for doing it. And so it gives you an opportunity to decide if there are any treasures in this space which you either want to keep or perhaps you would like to find new homes for elsewhere and maybe even sell. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But I just wanted to, you know, this is typical. This is a lot of what I see. So why is this concept of downsizing so hard? Well, you can imagine not only is it a physical demand to try to declutter a home that you've lived in for 30 years. And I will just say that if you've lived in your home for 10, 15, 20 or more years, and you have not kept up with decluttering and you haven't spent any time purging things of any significance that you don't use anymore. Let's say your kids are grown, they've left, and you still have all of their stuff. You know, this is where it gets very tough. And it's like engaging in a home remodel, except it's an internal remodel, and it takes time and it takes physical labor, and most of all, it takes decision making. And what a lot of people get stuck on is this idea of I need it just in case, or this was something very sentimental to me, and I have a hard time letting it go. My job as a professional organizer is to help make that decision easier for you. I don't have an opinion about what you keep or toss, but if you're going from a 3,500 square foot home into a 1,500 square foot retirement community, my goal is to help you meet your goal. And so that's where I might talk to you and ask you questions about how, where do you see this fitting into your new lifestyle? But we all fall into that, I may need it just in case. And then my job is to challenge you on that. So what are the things that typically take up a lot of space in our homes? If you're older and you have children, it's likely you might be the storage facility for your children's stuff, who are now adults and may have homes of their own, or maybe they have their first apartments and you're holding a lot of stuff for them because they don't have the storage for it. But at some point, you're gonna have to address this with them because it's the only way you can sell your home. So other people's stuff that you store is a big space hog for a lot of folks. Another is clothing, quite frankly. Clothing can take up an enormous amount of space and you don't even realize it because it's hidden behind closets. But here's a reality check for you. If you've got a lot of clothing and you plan to move, it's very unlikely that where you're moving is going to have anywhere near the kind of closet space that you have now. And if it does, great, then there's not a problem, except for the fact that typically when you move, you have to pay for wardrobe boxes and they're expensive. And if you end up needing 18 or more wardrobe boxes at $20, $30, $40 a shot, which you certainly are not intend to keep, that's a big expense for moving. So clothing is an issue. And and where there may be some opportunities for downsizing, especially if, let's say you have 30 pairs of black pants. Well, maybe you only need 15 of them. So it's considering what you have and curating those. Paper, and of course, paper and old files. This happens a lot. We get things from our parents, or we have old businesses, and we have that sort of just in case feeling. There's a statistic that was put up by my professional association several years back that said 80% of what we keep in terms of paper, we never look at again. And I would probably venture to say it's more than that. And chances are, if it's in a file cabinet in your garage or in a back room somewhere, it's even more likely. But you have a lot of fear around just throwing it out. So there's a process for determining what you need to, what you can recycle, and what may be shreddable. And I would always encourage everybody, it is so worth it if you can, to just have, not shredding it yourself. Don't sit in front of a shredder and try to shred 18,000 pieces of paper, which, by the way, is a number of pieces of paper that will fit in one of those standard 4-drawer metal file cabinets. You don't want to do that, but you do want to, if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, there are places who will come and pick up your papers and shred them either in front of you if you go there in person, or pick them up and shred them on site. The one I love and use the most is called Berkeley Shreds. They're right, you can see them from the East Shore Freeway. They're berkeleyshreds.com. They're wonderful people, and it's just easy as pie to take care of. Books, of course. Books take up an enormous amount of space, and they weigh a lot, so they're going to up the cost of your move if you're moving, as an interstate move, but even a local move. It takes time to pack books, and you're paying people by the hour. And so I love books. I grew up in the 70s. I'm totally understand people's attachments to their books, but this is an area of purging that will give you a big bang for your buck. And I'll talk to you about ways to do this again in a little while. Garage items, that's typically the area where we start, because most retirement communities don't give you garages. They might give you a carport, but it's, you might be lucky to get like a little storage closet. But all of those tools you've held on to, all those cleaning supplies, all of those unidentifiable pieces of hardware, the old radio from the 1970s, you've got so much stuff in your garages, and this is the time to take a hard look at those things and start to make some decisions. And basement items goes along with that too. And even hidden items, things that are all, in cabinets and cupboards and in furniture. If you are getting rid of a piece of furniture and that piece of furniture is stocked full of stuff, you're going to need to deal with the stuff that's in it. So I hope I'm not making you cry yet, but my job is to really create some awareness for you so that you can start making a plan.
Okay.
So hopefully I put in a little bit of lightness here. Maybe some of you can relate to this, maybe not, but it says two women friends looking at 3 piles, one marked toss, one marked donate, one marked keep. And the biggest pile says keep, and her friend says, I don't think you're getting the point of this exercise. And it is true that, we are in denial about our stuff a lot of the times, but I can tell you that the day the mover's moving your stuff and you realize you can't fit it and you have no plan B, that's when you're gonna realize, oh my God, Liz was right. I should have listened to her. So here are some tips about how to approach what to take. And I touched on this earlier. Taking furniture and household items that are really essential to your physical and emotional comfort. So, there's the obvious, your bed, you know, if you have a dresser, typically a dresser. If you have kitchen items that you really need for your new place, things like that, you want to take just what's essential, or start there. Start with what's essential, and then depending upon the space, you can start considering what's possible. So, you know, a good idea always is to look at a floor plan with furniture populated in it. And that, just like I showed you earlier, and say, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to need my couch. I'm going to need a couple of floor lamps. I'm going to need a chair here. I'm going to need my bed. I'm going to need my clothing. So, but sometimes what happens is there, you know, lots of other little things. And there's often that I don't know, should I keep it? Should I not keep it? Am I going to need it in cold weather if I move to a cold weather place? You can ask yourself, if it disappeared, would you miss it? And I always say, if it's possible, if it's a small item, you know, take that item and physically put it behind your back, pretend it's disappeared, and go, okay, that thing is gone. Do I miss it? Could I get it again if I needed it? And if the answer is yes, it's likely you can let it go. But try to put yourself through that physical exercise, because it's going to activate a different part of your brain than just you reading this PowerPoint. It will engage the part of your brain that will problem solve and help you imagine it's disappearing, and imagine how you'd feel about it, and imagine how you would replace it if you had to. So I'm always a big believer in the behind the back test. You also have to evaluate, you know, you made a decision to change your lifestyle, to resize your life. I'm sure you did it for a reason. Maybe you want to simplify your life, or maybe you want to be closer to your kids, or you know, you wanted a home that you didn't have to manage or climb stairs, or, you know, thinking about how your decisions impact those choices makes it a lot easier to let things go. And there are lots of different options for letting things go, as I said, and I'll talk about those in a moment. But your job is to figure out what you want to stay that will continue to enhance your lifestyle as you want it to be. Not how it's been for the last 30 years, but how you want it now and in the future. So let's talk a little bit about the options, about what do you do with all this stuff. All right, so I like to think of this decision-making as kind of like a staircase, where for every item in your home that you're going to consider, you're either the top of the stairs are going to be the items that you're keeping. That's a no-brainer. It's like, you know, am I keeping the dog? Yes. Am I keeping my bed? Well, maybe not, but you will know what are the obvious keeps. And again, I would encourage you to check out of the floor plan of where you're moving to. The next category is things that you've had for a long time that are important and sentimental to you, but that you really don't want anymore in your life. It doesn't fit your new lifestyle, but you just can't imagine it going outside of your family or friends, your circle of family or friends. So you can consider gifting those things to family and friends. But again, you don't want to turn your clutter into somebody else's. So this is an invitation to the important people in your life to ask them, is there something you would like, or I thought of you for this thing and wondering if you want it. And if they say no, polite, you know, don't take it personally. We all have too much stuff in our lives. But that is sometimes the next less painful option. After that, you're looking at maybe if you feel very strongly that you have things that you just couldn't give away, that you know, have high value. And I'm not talking about high sentimental value. I'm talking about high market value. And I'm also not talking about what you spend spent on them. I'm talking about what their market value is now. I had a woman call me yesterday and say, well, she just happened to mention picture frames. And she said, I spent $15 on these picture frames. They're worth $15. And I had to say to her, I'm sorry, those picture frames are not worth $15 just because you paid $15 for them. In fact, the minute you walk them out the door of the store, they probably lost about 75% of their value. Picture frames generally don't have any value right now in the current market. And the things that do have value are different depending upon how you sell them. There are, of course, naturally the things that are obvious, collectibles, coins, fine jewelry, luxury items. The obvious stuff are things that you can consider selling. But then there are also things that can be surprisingly in demand that you wouldn't expect. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but there are things that other people want and they're willing to pay for it. Are they willing to pay full price? Absolutely not. They may only be willing to pay $1, but if it's a giant piece of furniture and they're willing to get it out of the house for you, it's not just, you haven't just earned $1. You've earned somewhere in the neighborhood of $75 to $100, maybe $200, because it's just saved you the cost of hiring movers or hiring haulers to get the thing out of there, plus whatever they're willing to pay you. So selling is an option. There are upsides and downsides, and I will get to that in a moment. Then, of course, there's just the idea of, making things available to other people who really need them. And there is a big need out there. There are different places you can donate things. There's the obvious, there's, Goodwill and Salvation Army, which have been my godsends, especially Salvation Army, because they pretty much take everything that's usable. But there's also thrift shops, and they've been a wonderful resource. At least they were before the pandemic, and hopefully now they're starting to open up a little bit. There are services that, run regular charity drives, and they drop off those cards at your door, and they might take your old electronics or your, clothing, your everyday clothing. But just about anything that is usable can be donated, with some exceptions. Every seller and charity have some, do not takes. And of course, because there's such a glut of stuff out there, these charities are getting quite picky about what they'll take, when they'll take it, if they'll take it. I used to be able to give away a lot more than I can now. So knowing the rules ahead of time will also save you a lot of hassle. And then there's hauling, which is sort of the bottom, the last thing you want to deal with. Do you want to take your entire household of stuff and dump it into a dumpster? Well, you could, but it just seems like it's a shame, because there might be things there that could be of value to somebody else. It's also going to be incredibly expensive, but if that's, how you want to do it, then that's your choice, if that works for you. But keep in mind, haulers can be very expensive. It's their labor, it's their truck, it's their gasoline, and on top of it, they have to pay the charges for what's called the transfer station, which is basically the dump. And those charges vary depending upon what it is that you have. And by the way, hazardous waste cannot be hauled. You have to take it to a hazardous waste facility in your county. Will you find a hauler who might take it for you? You may, but legally they're not allowed to. And I'm not allowed to either, by the way. What we do is we box those things up, we put them in your car, and we give you the address of the local hazardous waste facility, and you take them at your convenience. Okay, so here are some options for what to do with your stuff. We talked about family and friends taking. For selling, you can, there are, it sort of depends on your situation. If you are selling a home for a family member who's passed away, there are estate sale options that make it easier to do that. If it's your stuff, there are ways, and I'll get to them in a second, how you can conduct a type of an estate sale it's different from like a formal estate sale, but there are but they're conducted online. And it's not eBay, but it's something called Max Sold, and I will get to that in a moment. You can also take things like, good quality furniture, lamps, accessories to consignment stores that might be near you. But again, they will require you to take photos. They will evaluate whether there's an interest, and they take a percentage of the ultimate sale price, and they get to determine the sale price, not you. The same is true for estate sales, by the way. You'll get a percentage. The seller will get a percentage, because they also have to pay for the truck or the labor to pick things up. We talked about charities that do pickups. Some of these are, not since the pandemic, are not as available as they used to be. The Salvation Army, of course, does truck pickups. There are some local charities in Alameda County that do truck pickups, but they're few. They're getting less and less, and there's a lot, because there's a lot more risk involved, and especially now during the pandemic, it's been very hard for these companies to do truck pickups. But there are some still out there. By the way, Goodwill does not do truck pickup, but Salvation Army does. There's also, I'm blanking on which one it is. It'll come back to me. So there are different options for doing truck pickup. Haulers are a great option for taking debris and broken or stained or damaged furniture and mattresses and non-working appliances. There's no way around it. You have to pay. You have to be prepared to pay for this. It's gonna, you can't expect that you're going to be able to get out of your house and not have to pay for it. It'll either come out of the sale of what you make from the sale of the house, or it's money you're going to have to pay up front. There are things in your home, I can guarantee you, that no one wants and that will have to be hauled. And then, of course, we talked about document destruction for papers. And again, I love Berkeley Shreds over on the East Shore Freeway. I am not a believer in yard sales. I can tell you the amount of effort that it takes to do a yard sale or a garage sale is huge, and you get a very little return on your investment. Now, if you like to do this kind of thing, if you enjoy meeting your community, if you're doing this because you're not selling your home and you're not on a tight deadline and you just think it would be fun to sit outside with a bunch of stuff that you don't want anymore and make a couple of dollars here and there, maybe you'll make 500 altogether, then be my guest. But this is not an efficient way to downsize your home. It's just, I can tell you there's a lot of prep work involved, and there's not a big return on your investment and time. So let's talk about some of the options. I want to talk a little bit about a company called Max Sold. Max Sold was a company that started in Canada. They are an online auction site whereby homeowners can sell virtually everything in their home that they don't want, from appliances to tools to unused toiletries to costume jewelry. The list is endless. And as a matter of fact, I am in the process of, I've got a Max Sold sale going on right now online. It closes at 7 o'clock tonight. At 7 p.m. tonight, I will know which of the 248 lots of things, lots meaning a grouping of things, actually sold, because the sale ends tonight and the pickup is going to be happening this weekend. Max Sold is it's a great option for when you have lived in your home a while and you have some really, you might have some really desirable items for other people. You're not looking to make that much money, but you could stand to make, enough money to offset a couple of thousand or more towards the cost of getting your, towards your move, for example. And it's a way for you to also know that people really want wanted that, figurine that you have, or really wanted that old desk that you had, or the rug, or the Mexican ponchos, or whatever it was. It does not have to be high value stuff, but of course the high value stuff is often what attracts buyers to the site. When you do max sold, you can manage it yourself as a seller, but it is quite a challenging undertaking. If you're going to investigate max sold, it's often best to hire a professional organizer to help you get it ready. And then of course you have to decide if that's cost effective as well. If you are just curious about max sold and how it works, go to their website at maxsold.com. There are a number of people in professional organizers and move managers in this community that will manage these sales for clients who want to try to sell things. If you have something in your home that someone ends up spending $1 for, and you would feel heartbroken if it's sold for $1, then don't include it in the max sold sale, because that could happen. But again, selling that big table for $1 is money in your pocket if it helps you get it out of your house. There's also a site called Remove It, and Remove It is sort of a combination between a hauler, a recycler, and a seller. And Remove It will come and pick up. You have to, again, there's some pre-sorting and organizing you have to do up front. You can't just invite them into your home and say, go at it. But they will take everything in your house, whether it's junk or usable items, or even, market value items, and they will take it. They charge you for how much volume it takes on their truck. All of this stuff that can be recycled will be recycled. All the stuff, if there's trash, they'll deal with that. And anything that can be sold, they will sell, and you will get 50% of the final sale price, and they will get 50%. Now, keep in mind, you have to put out money for their service, and it might cost as much as, $800, $900, possibly $1,000. But if you have a lot of stuff in your house, and some of it is things that have some market value, it could be the right choice for you. There's also a company in San Jose that I just discovered through my professional association. They're a nationwide company, but they have a franchise in San Jose. They're called Junk Luggers, and they do a lot of the same thing. They come and take your junk, and anything that can be donated, they donate, and anything that needs to go to the dump, they take to the dump. Then, of course, there's friends and neighbors and family that you can give things to or sell them to. There's, and then there are these, there's a lot of online marketplaces through Facebook, through Craigslist. There are downsides to those things. You have to deal with the back and forth of potential buyers, and there's, people say they'll show up and they don't show up. But on the other hand, you're going to get, if you ask for $75 firm and that person says, okay, and they show up, then you get that $75. But it's, it takes some time, whoops, sorry about that, to make those things go away. Max sold, services like Max sold and possibly Remove It are probably the best, most efficient in terms of getting things out, but it can also, you have to evaluate whether the cost is going to get offset by what you stand to make, and whether or not you're going to need help. So this home that I'm working on now, where we did engage in a max sold sale, we created there were 248 lots of stuff. There might be a lot of office supplies, there might be a lot of crystal, there might be a piece of furniture that would be a single lot, but 248. And I checked recently, and almost all of the things that we put in the sale have had some bidding on them. There are only maybe a dozen that no one seems to be interested in. And knowing that ahead of time helps me, because then I can arrange for a hauler to take those things away, or maybe offer them for free on the sale day. But
so Liz, I'm wondering if we can get to a point. We're gonna have to wrap this up pretty soon.
Okay, yep.
But I want to make sure that we have room for any questions.
Sure.
But if you can take us to,
yeah, let me just go over I think what's important to sort of stress is the no tears part. And then, so it's super important to know that this process, especially if you're working with others, family, friends, or professionals, that you make your wishes clear from the start and let people know how best to work with you. This is an exhausting process. So when you're feeling anxious or tired, you do need to take a break. Even if you don't lift a finger to physically take something yourself, just making decisions is extremely tiring. I, always encourage my clients to take breaks and have water with them. And it's also can be a very emotional process, especially if you know you're going to have to let go of things that have had sentimental meaning for you. And if you take the time and, to give yourself the time to feel what you're feeling and make sure that you're working with people who you can trust and who can empathize with you and who may even be willing to take a little time to hear your story. This is not, if this was just all about packing things in boxes, this would be easy. In fact, packing things in boxes is probably the last stage of this process. There are just some helpful, do I have time to just go through a few helpful hints?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty quickly.
So, if you want to do something yourself, if you want to do a lot of it yourself, it's not too early to start. Give yourself at least 8 weeks before you are moving to start this process. Start with the things on surfaces that you can see on the floors, on tables, and start making decisions about those things. Designate an area in your home for staging the things that you want to keep, even if it means putting, emptying one room of stuff that you don't want to keep and putting everything in there that you do want to keep. Focus on one room at a time. Don't jump back and forth. Pick one, maybe you just start with the garage or you just start with the spare bedroom. And don't stop whatever you do. Don't shop for anything else. This is not the time to go to Costco. Use up what you have. Start segregating paper as you come across it without looking at it. Just simply put it in a bin and decide you're going to deal with it. And then something that I love to do is I use painter's tape, not Post-its, painter's tape in a bright color, and I mark on the painter's tape whether they're keeps or storage or they're going somewhere else. You can decide how to label them, but make them, make it very visible and make sure that you more or less put it in the same place on every piece of furniture. If you need help with finding reputable movers or help with planning your move or help to sort or help with unpacking or advice and support along the way, or maybe even just a box of Kleenex, maybe a professional is what you're going to need. And this is when it's time to consider hiring a professional, is when you are feeling very overwhelmed and you do need hands-on help or have physical limitations and limited family support to get you through this process. And if it's also a great way, I manage moves for people who are not even in their homes on the day of the move. They might be in their new homes or out of the country. If you can't be there, that's a great reason to hire a professional move manager. I'm a member of the National Association of Senior Move Managers. I don't have it on this screen, I'm sorry, but I can put it in the chat, NASMM.org, as well as the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals. Both of those membership organizations are great ways to find help with either organizing your home, downsizing your home, or moving your home. And finally, if you want to chat with me, I do offer a no obligation 30-minute phone consultation that you can schedule by going to my website at letsmakeroom.com. And you'll see a link at the top right, I believe, and you can choose the 30-minute phone consultation option and at a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk and we'll discuss, as they say. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope this was useful for you and helpful, and I'm available now to take some questions.
Okay, so if anyone has questions, they can type it into the chat. Pardon me?
Or they can unmute themselves.
Oh, or Twice says you can unmute yourself and just ask Liz a question.
Sure.
So
Ask the organizer. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. So I have a couple of old computers and I never know what to do with them because I figure like all the information on there, I don't know. I don't even remember what's on my computer.
There is, yes, here's what I'll tell you what to do. If you, nobody, if you take it to a computer recycler, that's what they'll do. They'll just take out the hard drive, they'll destroy it. They will recycle the pieces, and there is a wonderful computer recycling center right next to the paper shredding place. It's the Berkeley Computer Resource, the Berkeley Computer Recycling Center on Page Street.
Do they charge to take the hard drive out? Do we watch them? I mean,
no, it's a drop off. Now, if you want to have the hard drive taken out and have somebody give you the hard drive, you can go to the paper place next door and they will take out the hard drive, but they do charge for that.
I've gone to the Berkeley shredding. I forget they're called.
Berkeley Shreds. Yeah.
Berkeley Shred. And you can just really almost drive up into their little room.
Exactly. Right now, because of COVID.
Boxes and throw it down, and you go in and they have this huge shredder and you watch it shred everything. I love it. Then I walk off. It takes all of 5 minutes.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
It's well worth it. Yeah.
And they also will do hard drive destruction or recycling. But if you're, it's probably, if I would feel completely comfortable taking your computer to the computer recycling center next door. They're not going to be going through your hard drive. It's, they get thousands of computers all the time and it's free. But if you're extremely concerned and private, or if you want that hard drive for yourself, then you need to go to a place where they can take it out and hand it to you. It's also not hard to do, but we've got a million things on our plates these days, and it might just be worth your time.
So I had another question. So I sold a house and the owner wasn't living there anymore, and someone figured out that they could dump tires. I really don't even understand what the tires were for. I think it's that they would tell people they'd haul it away and they'd pay somebody to haul it away and then they just dump it somewhere else. So if you have tires, I found out tires are extremely expensive. They have to go to a certain kind of dump or environmental safety, something or other.
Right.
So, I'm just telling everybody, don't let anybody dump their tires on your property.
That's also a reason to hire reputable haulers.
Yeah.
There are these trucks that go down this. I see it all the time. I see people dump stuff off the side of the freeway.
Yeah.
If you get a deal that sounds too good, it probably is. So you want to check their, you want to check to make sure they have a certificate of insurance. You want to check to make sure that maybe they have a website. And I would just ask them point blank, where do or actually what you do is you tell them, send me a copy of the receipt from the transfer station.
Yeah, it's pretty common that people will dump. I hate to say it's common, but it happens. So
it does happen.
When I was at the housing authority, we would get a notice from the city, say, for example, from someone who's on the program, or they had their address. Mm-hmm. And this person hired someone to dump their stuff. And they say, for example, dumped it up on Skyline.
Right.
They picked it up from your house and then they go dump it somewhere else. And the city people go through and they get the name, if they can find a name in any of that documentation, and you're in trouble. It was pretty interesting. So they're looking for someone to pay for that hauling stuff. So it's pay later or pay now. And by the time the city gets done with the fees and it's quite a nightmare. So make sure you use reputable people to haul your stuff.
It's true.
And what is the receipt you can get if they take it to the dumps?
It's just the payment receipt. They have to pay the dump to dump the stuff there. If they
Okay.
don't, if they say there's no receipt, don't hire them, because they have to, first of all, they have to wait. They have to wait in line, often a long time, on the line of trucks who are going into the dump. They're going to dump things that can be recycled and recycled, but the stuff that has to go to the normal transfer station, there's a cost for that. So have them take a picture of the receipt and send it back to you, so you
Okay.
have some proof that they did what they said they were going to do.
Okay. Norma, did you unmute yourself? Do you have a question?
Yes.
Hi,
Family.
Norma.
Hi, and thank you. This has been great. I have a garage full of stuff that goes back many, many years. And also my sister recently moved she downsized from a very large place to a smaller senior facility. And so and other friends who have decluttered have given me stuff, and I didn't have the heart to say no. So now my second bedroom is full, and it's also full of things that I had to take out of a closet as I had a bathroom remodeled. And so I just am really overwhelmed.
Yeah,
And
you're a very nice person, Norma, but your friends just created a very expensive problem for you, because you probably have a lot of things that you have no relationship to, and you offered to store them for them, or you offered to take them for you. So you're trying to figure out, what do I do with this stuff?
how do I get rid of it? Where do I start? I know you said start with the garage or start with the surface, and I just can't seem to make much headway just in sorting my bills. I start with that every day.
Yeah, it is. I'm going to be brutally honest. It's like, if your roof was leaking, could you replace it yourself?
No.
Yeah, this is not an easy job.
Okay.
You might have to look into getting some professional help. And what that would look like would be having people who come in, like my crew, who come in and they use your driveway, and they pull everything out of the garage and they sort it like with like. Mm-hmm. So all of the furniture and all of the tools and all of the home decor, and just like almost like they were setting up a sale, but it's in reverse, because what you're going to do then is you're going to say, okay, I don't want that, I don't want that, I want that, I don't want that, and then you're going to come to something and you're going to get totally stuck, and I'm going to invite you to do the behind the back test. Mm-hmm. But you're going to basically have to make decisions about what you want to keep, and then once that's done, you're done. Then the organizers are responsible for getting those things donated or hauled. And depending upon the company, the hauling may be something you have to pay extra for, and they'll arrange for it. They can have they might be able to take the donatables, or you could, just work with them to sort things, and then hire a company like Remove to take everything. But it's physically very demanding. And so if you have friends and family who can help you pull everything out and sort it, that's another way to go. But you have to be prepared to get it done pretty quickly, like in a day.
Norma, I have a question for you. The stuff that your friends and family have dropped off lovingly to you, are they willing to take
it back? Yes.
No.
Yeah. No? You should charge them.
Are they willing to help you clear it out?
One is my deceased sister, so that's out of the question. The other, she would help, but she's still trying to unpack her own stuff. I tried to invite her to this, and I realized that I may have to pay. So that was my next question: is what is the fee range?
Well, it varies, but labor in the Bay Area is expensive. I won't kid you. And and it's more than just sorting. So there are a couple of ways to go here. You might be able to go on a website. I'm blanking. There is a website, and as well as an app where you can hire like a new organizer who might, who, you know, if under your direction could come in and sort things like with like, but they would need to bring tables, or you would need to provide them with tables, and they might charge you as little as, you know, $30 an hour to do it. But in general, I mean, if I'm doing a garage, and it's a fully packed garage, I'm usually bringing in 2 or 3 crew, and we're working all day sorting, and then working with you on editing, and then getting everything organized for donation. You're looking at you could be looking at $1,600 to $1,800 just for the garage. But if you're selling the house, that is a tiny, tiny fraction of what you stand to make through the sale of the house. So what happened is your generosity is costing you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember,
now you know the cost of not being able to say no. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I remember years ago, I hired someone to help me just with my closet, and I didn't quite understand the process. So I would say for the first 2 hours she was there, she'd hold up a piece of clothing and say, "Are you going to keep it or not?" And I'd like, "Oh, I got married in that dress," or I did something or other. It was like painful, I got to say. By the end of the day, she'd hold it up. I go, "Done, gone, donate,"
Yes.
what have you. I mean, it's
Right.
a process. I want everybody to know it's pretty much a process. And I think that you can also look at your budget and make a decision about whether or not you want to hire someone for the day, right? And get as far as you can, that gets you going. I mean, all of us are not independently wealthy here. So spending, 1,800 or $2,000 to clear out a garage is maybe not reasonable.
If
But
you
maybe
think
you can
you
do
want
part
to
of it.
keep it. Yes. Now here's where it gets cheaper. You can, that's the cost of hiring an organizer to come in and sort things. If you say, no, I want an opportunity to look through everything. But if you're like, no, just take it away, then that's just a hauler. Just take it all. That's just, take it all away. And there are a lot of haulers who will take things for charity. And I'm happy to share resources or names of haulers. I've worked with one that does that. I have another one that I'm trying out for the first time this coming week that does that. But you should expect to probably spend about $500 to $750 for hauling a garage full of stuff. In fact, it's really full. Because
that sounds like a bargain right now.
Yeah.
If you could see my garage, it would be worth. It would be worth $700.
Yeah, but there is a cost to clutter. There is a cost to keeping things. There is a cost to people think that by having it somehow adds value to their lives, when in fact it's just the opposite. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions or for Liz or for me or anything else? Norma, I hope this helped a little bit.
It does. Thank you.
Liz, any parting words for us?
Was there anything on the chat that we need to see? Has anybody put any chat questions in?
I think we got all the problems. I think we got all the comments on the chat.
Okay. Well, I just want to say that, it's always a good idea, even if you're considering hiring a professional organizer, that you talk to a couple of them, because it's you want to get the right fit in terms of your personality, in terms of your budget. You want to make sure that the scheduling. So you can search for an organizer on the website napo.net. And that's where you can find lists of professional organizers. If you're looking to move and you need someone to help coordinate and manage, not necessarily, they're not the truck, they're not the packers and loaders, but they can advise you and help you get downsized in preparation for a move, and also find the movers and be there on move day and supervise the movers. If you need that, the website to go to is NASM, National Association of Senior and Specialty Move Managers. It's NASMM. And they both have a search for an organizer, search for help screen by zip code. And, you know, you can contact people directly and see and interview them and see which one seems like a good fit for you.
Well,
And
thank you so
also
much, Liz. I think,
with me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or call Liz for sure.
Yeah.
She was very generous with her time today. Sorry to rush us along. We have a little window here from 2 to 3, and I think we just made it. Liz is helping my clients move across country right now, and they're delighted with her. They had a house full of items, and she's managed it for them very gently, shall we say. And I appreciate that. So again,
They've been great.
Wonderful.
Great clients.
Feel free to give her, you know, do a consultation or whatever you need to do with her. Okay. Thanks so much, everyone, for sharing today. And
Bye,
we'll
everyone.
see you soon. Bye,
Take
Liz.
care.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Amelia.
Kathleen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome.